Hey, folks, it's me, Dwayne Hoover, slashing prices because we're going bananas down here for Hawaiian Week.
And we're loaded with new cars and trucks.
Ask anybody. You can trust Dwayne Hoover.
Breakfast at Champions, Mr. Hoover.
Hey, everybody. Dwayne Hoover, the man you can trust.
Dwayne Hoover is the best employer in town.
Dwayne. It's Dwayne Hoover.
Dwayne Hoover.
People know who you are, don't they?
Hey, folks, it's me, Dwayne Hoover. Hey, folks, it's me. Hey, folks,
I'm telling you that Dwayne Hoover is sane and doing things he never used to.
Who am I? I'm so confused.
Yeah?
I just need somebody to talk to, that's all.
Kill, go, trap. Kill, go, trap.
On the planet, everything's reversed. It's chaos. Everything's kind of backwards. Extinct.
God bless America! That there is Dwayne Hoover on television, and I trust him.
Hey!
I trust you, Dwayne. If only you'd tell me which Dwayne to trust.
Dwayne?
Where am I?
In Midland City.
I need to hear truths I haven't heard before.
Kill, go, trap.
Well, there's something interesting, Kilgore Trout, huh?
Kilgore Trout should win the Nobel Prize for Literature.
You got that right.
Kilgore Trout!
Dwayne Hoover, am I losing you?
Is this what I'm here for?
If you knew the answer, there'd be no more questions. Dwayne knows. Everybody knows.
From the best-selling novel by Kurt Vonnegut Jr.
Hey!
Bruce Willis, Albert Finney, Nick Nolte, Barbara Hershey, Glenn Headley, Lucas Haas, Omar Epps.
You don't have to be crazy to work here, but sure helps.
What the hell ain't meant by that, huh?
In an Alan Rudolph film, Breakfast of Champions.
There you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm a Zoom virgin.
You are.
It's so awkward.
I know it's always so awkward the first time.
It was not what I thought it would be, but I sure can't wait to try it again. But
It's all you'll be thinking about is when can you Zoom again and how quickly?
I was accused of so many things over so many years, but one of them was zooming my lens, always zoom.
Oh.
Zoom. And people say you stole it from Altman, but which is partly true, but not totally true. Because the camera I had before I ever met Bob had a zoom, and that's how I started to make little films. And now I'm zooming in a whole other way, which most things are different to me. I am truly a stranger in paradise. And I think I'm after you. I think I'm going to retire from this Zoom business.
Well, then I count myself really, really lucky to have gotten in just in time then. And because it's been a long awaited experience. I mean, I've been doing this podcast. It just sort of started some like 13 years ago without much forethought. It just sort of happened. And then I ended up like making it all about independent film and art house film, and it's been like this wonderful thing to be able to talk to some of my heroes and people that I grew up or got to know over the years, and who I think have a real place in that lineage. And you're one of those guys, Alan, no doubt. Not to
Adam, you're lying again, but
butter you up or anything. No. In fact, my biggest Alan Rudolph story is not seeing a film of yours, because I was living in Boston in the early to mid 80s, and I wanted to go see Choose Me. It was, I guess, 84, right?
Right.
And I went to it's not there anymore, but the Nickelodeon movie house. It's in Boston, in the Back Bay area near BU and all that. And I walked into the wrong theater, and I sat down. The movie was already in progress, which I thought was strange, but I was convinced I was in the right theater. So I proceeded to watch what turned out to be Stranger Than Paradise. So,
Oh, Jarmusch movie?
yeah. So,
well, that's a great film.
Yeah. So you turned me on to Jim Jarmusch indirectly.
Actually, way back when, I don't know what year. I don't know if it was after Choose Me. Might have been. Some guy wanted to do an interview in LA for a magazine, and his angle was, we'll go to a movie. And I thought, oh, that's good because I don't have to talk then. And
yeah, right, that's you think.
So he said, pick a movie. And there was a Plex somewhere. We met him. I mean, he was one of those guys. We met in a bowling alley. And we went, and I said, I want to see that one, Stranger Than Paradise. And I thought that was a groundbreaking, brilliant piece of, I mean, if I had made that, I would have probably never made another film. I would say, okay, I did it, and walk away. So I'll take it. I'm glad you missed Choose Me for that, because
well, I did end up going back and seeing Choose Me.
You know, it's Tom Robbins, a dear friend of mine, still around in his 90s.
The novelist, yep.
Yeah. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so does he. He's in Breakfast of Champions, a cameo. He's at the bar in the big sequence where the finale, and Omar Epps is sitting at the bar, and Tom looks at him and says, "You're not from around here, are you?" But once the film was made and was given both barrels point blank, I said, this is a career killer. And he said, well, you don't have to worry about that because you don't have a career, you have a careen. And he was absolutely right. And what a strange trip this has been. This is my 50th year.
Wow.
Of Choose Me. I mean, thanks for planting that seed.
Yeah, no,
Choose Me, by the way, is going to be released, my first film for Criterion.
Oh.
Maybe they're 40 years late, but who's counting? Next year on a brand new, like Breakfast is,
4K.
4K, and it's, I mean, we timed the daylights out of that, and it's stunning. And so it's good that it's in the air. But this is my 50th year of Breakfast of Champions. And
wait a minute.
Yeah, count them.
Wait, it's your 50th year of making films, you mean?
No,
Breakfast of Champions came out, 25.
Yeah, but I wrote the script 50 years ago.
Oh, you wrote the script 50 years ago. I beg your pardon.
For Altman.
Oh, I beg your pardon. He was going to make it. That's somewhere in my notes that I have that
I'd been working with him. Titles blur with Bob.
Goodbye.
You and I would not be sitting here if it weren't for Altman. I don't mean for my personal life, but Altman was a true giant, and the movie industry has never been the same. And he educated audiences to a new way of absorbing films, whether they know it or not. We invented ways to make movies when I was working with him that hadn't been done. And he was obviously the thrust of all of it. And we invented sound system, multi-track recordings, and how to shoot films, how to make films for less money and total freedom and no interference. And Hollywood just absorbed his process, and now it's just taken for granted. But without him, I don't think we would have leapt ahead. And there are no personalities like him anymore. I mean, I guess Coppola is the last of the lions, you know, in American cinema, where impresarios as much as filmmakers. But Bob, I'd been with him with presidential candidates, with
Right.
Oscar-winning actors, with scientists. He never came out second. He had a way. He was smart. He was irreverent. He was flying bombers in World War, piloting bombers in World War II at 19. You think a studio is going to scare him? and so I became part of that process. And
well, just yeah, I don't want to interrupt you, but mention how you did. You became his assistant director. I mean, even by Long Goodbye, was that your first collaboration, or
yeah,
was that had to have been already a very coveted position? Is my point.
Well, I had been the youngest first assistant director in Hollywood. I went through the training program. My father was in the business, so I thought I finally decided. I mean, movies were my reality, and I didn't want to be part of them. I didn't care. I mean, but they were my reality in that I felt more at home visiting my dad on a set when I was 6 in a padded room, a cavernous thing with cold and all the lights are on at one end of the, and you quiet and you go down there timidly to see what's going on. And here's this beautiful woman and all the lights on her. Mm-hmm. And it made no sense, and it made total sense. And but I didn't, you know, and then the 60s happened. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I decided, we had a family changing event that no one ever recovered from. And I decided, if that truck is aiming at me, I don't want my last thoughts to be, oh, I wish I would have done this or been that or said this or heard. So I decided I was going to get into the film business, but I didn't know how. And I thought maybe Dad could get me in because nepotism was
Nepo baby.
And don't you know, the year before, the industry got sued and everything, and they said, okay, no more nepotism. And the producers and directors guilds decided they would start a training program for assistant directors, because all the assistant directors were stupid, not all, most of them were stupid sons of people. And what, you know, and the first assistant directors, the most important guy on the set outside of the director. I mean, he controls the set and he controls the production. The second assistants work for the first assistant in the production. They do all the hard work, you know, the paperwork and getting people together and all that. And you start off as a trainee, and then you become a second. And then if you're good enough, you'll find yourself as a first, but it's not automatic. Some people's whole careers as a second. Suddenly I shot up through the ranks, and I was doing television, stupid movies, and I knew it wasn't for me, and yet it was a full career. It was good pay and important position, and I was a young guy with long hair in an old conservative business, and I had hair then. And I decided I didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to learn how to write and make little movies, although there were no outlets. I wanted to make foreign movies in America.
Right.
And that was my film school. And my father took us to the greatest movies. You know, I was born and sort of became aware before television was invented. So he would take us to what became known as film noir, but had no label then. And all of a sudden I'd see these kind of different people in black and white, and the shadows were long, and something really clicked. And it was the artificial part of that made it seem so real. The long shadows, the high contrast, then you turn around and look at a real street and it's just kind of blah, but enough.
Right.
And yet this made it seem real. And somewhere I made that connection that, oh, it's the artifice that I really like. And I didn't know what to do with it, but I kind of looked at my whole life that way.
Right.
Anyways, I got a call. I turned down all first assistant jobs. People thought I was nuts. I was living in a little place that I didn't have a desk. I stood up and I typed scripts, and I write a
Like
script
at the kitchen counter or something?
at the dresser.
Okay.
My wife and I had
Oh,
a little apartment, and it was a guest house is what it was in Hollywood Hills at the time. And I would type, and then there was this new thing called Kinko's, where you could take your paper and they'd copy it for $3, 100 pages,
mhm.
So you could make a movie for $3, and you'd look at it and read it and throw it in the fireplace and make another one. And I was doing this, learning how to write, and I got a call. Somebody says, somebody I'd work with, production coordinator, and said, she said, "Are you still working?" I said, "Not really." And she said, "Oh, do I have something for you? An assistant director job opening." I said, "No, I don't want to do that anymore." She said, "You're nuts. You're so good, and you're going to love this." I said, "No, I don't want to do it anymore." And she said, "You're going to like this director. His name is Robert Altman." And for whatever bent reason, I hadn't seen MASH. I don't know what it was. I hadn't seen it. And I said, "Oh, I heard of him. He's that young Canadian guy." I didn't.
Right. Of course.
And because he had done Cold Day in the Park in Canada.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
and-
yeah. Right. He did shoot abroad. Yeah.
And I thought, no, I
He
don't.
made one in the UK too, I think, right?
Not before Cold Day. He made
Okay.
he made
Anyway,
he made images in Ireland later.
Yeah. Oh, Ireland. Okay. Thank you.
And I said, "I don't care who he is. I don't." She said, "Just meet him." She said, "I'll have the first assistant call you." I said, "The first assistant? I haven't been a second assistant for 3-4 years. I'm not going to do that." She said, "It's different here." So the guy calls me up, Tommy Thompson, who was Bob's producer and his first assistant director. And he said, "Boy, you come highly recommended. I think you're going to fit right in here." And I said, "Tommy, I just don't know." He said, "Just come in and meet Bob." And I said, "I don't know if I want to," but then my mother's maiden name is Altman. No relation whatsoever.
Well, there is now, as of that day, where you looked at it as a sign. Sure, there is now there's a relationship.
When I told Bob that, maybe 20 years later, I never told him that.
Wow.
We're sitting in the back seat of a taxi in New York smoking a joint. And I said, "Did I ever tell you my mother's maiden name is Altman?" And he looked at me, and he's from Kansas City,
Right.
He said, "Well, I'll be a suck egg mule." I'd never heard that before. Anyway, I go in and I meet him. And I said, "Maybe." And you don't say that to Altman. He said, "What?" He gave those X-ray blue eyes, and he's a very large, imposing man. And
right.
I said, "I don't know if," and he said, "Look, my latest movie's opening tonight." It was a Friday night in July. And he said, "It's opening at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. Go see it. Come back Monday and tell me what you think." I said, "Okay." So I went to see McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Oh.
I saw it 6 times that weekend. I was
oh my God.
supposed to come back. I mean, that movie, I think, changed my life as much as anything I'd ever seen, especially then. And I came back. I was supposed to meet him at 10 o'clock. I came in at 9:30. He was sleeping. And he came and hung over. And I said, "Anything you want. Anything you want. I don't care what we pay. I don't even care. Anything you want." And I came home and told Joyce after a week, and these long-haired kids are running through the office and everything. And I said, "I think I'm working for Picasso. I think I'm working for somebody who," I had enough experience. I'd work with big people. There was nothing like him. So he turns to me after Nashville and he says, I can't get anybody to write a script for this book. I have 2 people writing on it now. They don't seem to be able to. I had a writer before. Somebody's brought it to me. He didn't pay his writers, so he knew I would work for nothing. He said, "Read it and see if you can crack it." He said, "But," I said, "Well, what do you want me to do though?" He said, "Just don't follow the book." That was his marching orders. I can just hear him say it now. Don't follow the book. So I read it. He wanted to do it. It didn't get made. We moved on. Later, I made my own movies, and when I could afford it, I'd buy the rights to it, option the rights to it. Very expensive. And I'd been told that so many A directors had owned it over the years, probably like a trinket, like you say, a Confederacy of Dunces I'm going to make, or I catch her.
Yeah, right.
Movie.
One of the unmakeable books. Yeah.
And I wanted to make it. I mean, I didn't, I never had a lot of projects. People didn't bring me things, and I really wanted to try to get it made. And nobody would make it. And then I'd worked with Bruce in 1991, I think, with Bruce and to me on a low budget dark little thriller. And I could see their lives changing, superstar people. By the process I was a hired director, had nothing to do with the setup of the movie. And, but I had made Choose Me and some films, and I was bringing the Altman spirit with me. And they had never gone through anything like that, ever. And Bruce had said publicly that that was his favorite experience and his favorite performance. So now, dissolve, as they say, 97, I get a phone call from Bruce Willis. And he says, I want to make a comedy in my life. I want a big comedy. And he said, I want to make Breakfast of Champions. I love the book. I read your screenplay. I laughed. Let's go. You don't get those calls, And I said, yeah, when? In about 20 years, when somebody will put up a dime. He said, don't worry about the money. I'll get us the money.
Yeah, he's the green light guy, right? Even then, of course,
said,
right?
He said, we can't spend a lot of money, and we have to go quickly. We were shooting a few months later, and with first choice cast all around, and nobody made a lot of money, and then finished the movie. And I thought that people wanted to look under the tent of American culture and see what was really behind the madness. And I told Bruce up front, I said, and I don't usually talk to actors this way, I said, in my mind, he's every politician who's ever run for office. And Bruce and I were at opposite ends politically, although Bruce, dear Bruce, but Bruce was maybe the smartest guy I'd ever met. He was a true artist. He had impeccable taste. He was witty, literate, supportive. For whatever reasons, we were opposite politically. I think I know the reason, but who knows? But I said, these politicians, they run for office skirting the truth. They never get to the truth. They get to the trappings of the whitewash of the truth. They want you to vote for them because they're good looking and they're famous and they're rich and they'll tell you what you want. And that's Dwayne Hoover. And I said, but unlike most politicians, this guy feels a spark deep inside that he's never felt before, like questioning who he is and how he got there. And because he's not spent any time and didn't have the emotional muscle or to explore it within himself, he's looking for an answer from someone else. And of course, when he gets it from a nonsensical writer, he misinterprets it anyway. Mm-hmm. But that was my take on it, that Bruce was every politician. Picture came out, it was radioactive. Nobody talked about it. This is the first interviews I've ever done about Breakfast of Champions. No one
That's amazing. 25 years later. Yeah.
And all other considerations removed. If you asked me when to open this movie, I'd say 3 days before the 2024 election seems about right. And now it will seem like a documentary, maybe. Our main madman even has bad hair,
Right.
And not to lump you with other people, and I've never met any of these people I've spoken to the person. they volunteered that. They thought that this would play now. This is actually the moment for this movie. At the time, all I got was, damage, pain.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. People were afraid to mention it, and I didn't really care that much because I've never had financial success, and my movies aren't aimed at popular culture, popular audiences. But the madness is now on the surface now. Politics is entertainment. Illogic lies are accepted if they make you feel good, and the key line in the movie is an original line from the screenplay, not in the book, which is, until you die, it's all life, and parenthetically is saying, so live. Find out what life is about. And I'll still go with that one. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I do. And I don't, it's not like it's 10,000 theaters around the world. It's a few art houses here and there, and Ron.
Yeah, but what's your feeling about, like, do you care? Are you about what the reaction will be this time? Or are you
nobody's gonna write about it, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure, I don't know any of these people. Some of them are still around, the critics, but they'll never admit they're wrong. And maybe they won't.
That sounds very Trumpian.
Yeah. Okay. Don't ever say that again. No, well, I mean, they won't.
My words, not yours.
I don't know what the reaction. I think I only base it on. Here's what my experience is in all of my films. From the beginning. Oh, this is weird. This is strange. I had to look up the word quirky after about 3 films in a row, and they were quirky. Okay. Then I started to wear it as a badge of honor. Okay, that means they're at least different. I thought that was the whole point. And people don't talk like that. What time is this supposed to be? Where is this supposed to be set? Why isn't this following a story in the traditional way? And I thought, okay, what am I supposed to do? Change my stripes? No. Now, I haven't tried, and I won't try now to get a movie made, but now I bet you if you go into one of those hallowed offices, places I've never been and never wanted to go, they'd say, well, we can't make this movie, not Breakfast, but any film. It's not weird enough. It's not strange enough. It's not different enough. It's too linear. It's too, you know what's going to happen. I mean, so things have come full circle. I don't know what it'll do for Breakfast. I would always refer to it as, the most reviled film in modern America, but my personal proudest moment, and I'll stick with it.
That's good.
I love the movie. I love the way it looks now. And I used to say, and I probably still true, I don't know how to get to mass audiences. I don't have that gene. I don't know. I've never had a film that was, anybody. Choose Me, I thought we had a shot. It was made for 700,000, and they still claim it lost money. I don't know how. There was never a TV ad for it ever. But I seem to make films, and because I've been told this by people in the audience, for individuals. And the problem inherent in that is that individuals don't get together and talk. So they take it with them and don't say.
Right.
And then every now and then somebody will pop up in your life and say, well, that movie changed my life. And all I ever say is you should seek help. But I guess enough people have been affected by these movies that they're still looking for them. That I guess the problem is they're all in some landfill. You can't find any of my movies. People say, where can I see these movies? They don't stream. There's no DVDs for half of them. I'm thrilled that we got this far, and Shout Factory's going to release a Blu-ray DVD and
of Breakfast at Tiffany's. I'm sorry, Breakfast at Champions. What am I saying?
Well, I feel a little polite these days.
You can't show Breakfast at Tiffany's anymore because of Mickey Rooney, but you can watch your film. And by the way, the commitment of some of the actors in there, they're so committed. And like you look at Nick Nolte's performance, I mean, I've seen him really just like one of the most dynamic performances. And this is a guy who's really delivered quite a few in his career, but he really was a standout in there.
Well, we did 2 years before, we did Afterglow, Nick and I. He's done 4 movies for me, but with me, produced one. And, you know, I think he's a free spirit. He belonged in this movie. But I think his support team probably said, why the hell did you do these goddamn things? But he almost steals the movie, but there's just too much going on for anybody to steal. Oh boy, I got to get off, it seems.
Oh, okay. Let me just I love that you shared so much. It really means a lot to me. This is a very special conversation for me, seriously, and I would love to do more, but I do understand you have to go. And let's just say that and make sure everybody knows that this 1999 movie Breakfast of Champions that you made is having a, well, we'll say somewhat limited, but still a theatrical in this day and age is a great opportunity for any film at this point. And it's the 25th anniversary of it, and it's been restored. It's gotten the 4K restoration. You mentioned some of your other films. They are starting to come out on Criterion, which means they will continue to have a life, at least some right now, and then maybe more hopefully later. But your films will not be I don't think end up in the heap, in the junk heap. Don't worry.
It doesn't matter, because the one thing about films is they're still alive.
Right.
And I treated them as a living, breathing entity, organism, and it was our job to capture them and set them free. That's what we do. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate the support.
I just want to say also you're welcome. And the last thing you mentioned at the beginning, the Zoom issue that people found, I assume that's because you're, as a filmmaker, when you zoom in in that intentional way, you're inserting yourself as a filmmaker into the film. You're making people conscious of that there's a filmmaker there, right? Is that the big criticism?
Criticism? I take it as a compliment.
Okay.
Here's the way I look at it: is and I'm self-taught. I've taught myself everything that I don't know. I look at the camera as the storyteller. Now, I know that might be verboten, but that's the way I look at it. And the camera is what the audience can trust. That and music. They seem to trust music more than anything. And an actor's face, the actors are the true works of art in the process. An actor's face is always the most interesting horizon for me in any film. And my films are mostly interiors. And it seems like if you're chasing an actor's face, it's from a lot of my movies have 6, 7, 8, 9-minute shots, and they usually wind up on an actor's face. And that the way I seem to understand emotional storytelling, that's the best place you can land. And I don't care about people liking or not liking zooms. Most of the time you can't find it in these films. You just happen to wind up there. We never had a lot of money, so I'd always say the equipment I need is a dolly and a zoom. That's it. And that's all I ever got, really. Gotta go.
Letting you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Adam. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.